Hello all, welcome to Minutes Coding once again. As a continuation to our previous video, we are going to discuss about variables in this video. So a variables, how do we declare a variable and the scoping of a variable and what are the different ways of declaring a variable and what values we can store inside a variable and how do we convert from one type to another type. So all these we'll see in this video. Let's move into an examples. So first, let us declare a variable. So what is a variable? As we discussed in our previous video again. So a variable is a place where we can hold a short information into it. Information that can be reused throughout our particular programming wherever it is necessary. So one solid example of the variable is like I have my username and I want to use the name throughout my page. So for that, what I'll do is I have to first create a variable for storing my wings as a name into it. So first, for declaring a variable, JavaScript is not a strict language for defining it, whether it should be a let or const or where, these are the different ways of declaring a variable. You can directly go ahead and give name is equal to, and you can say this. But it is always recommended that you use a let keyword before declaring a variable. Let name is equal to, let's say, friends. Here, when there is a declaration and assignment going together in this particular line, but there are also a few other ways that we can declare is first declare only the variable, and then in the coming code, let me demo this. And I'll say name is equal to, I'll say things. Now let me type a console.log message. Long variables, and the username should come. That's called as rings. So now when I have to execute this, I'm going to use a Node.js for executing this. As we discussed in our previous chapter, let us go to our integrated terminal. And here you can see, I have to type node space index.js. When I type this, there is a mistake that we have made is, you can see a variable must be declared and the value cannot be directly written. So to avoid this, let me type a name, and you can see once the variables are registered into our compilation, so you can see that the variable name is coming as the predefined names are coming with this square brackets and with a small box within that, which means that the variable is already declared. And I'm using the name here. And when I'm executing this, you can see that it is just showcasing me a message called as learn well on variable strings. So now this particular area of this particular line is called as a declaration. And this particular line is called as an assigning and variable value. Okay. Now we can reuse this variable value wherever we want. Now let us go ahead, and there is also a shortened way of assigning this as, you can always give it as name is equal to give this. So that way we can avoid this line, and the output will have no change. Now I don't want to create wings, I want to create a different user. So what we will do is we'll do a reassignation with the help of the assignment key. So basically a single U equal to is called as an assignment key. So the left hand side is considered to be a variable name, and right hand side is considered to be the value. Viewers. So now let's check what is the value inside the when I type this, okay, so when you can see that when I executed it is showing me learn well on variable wings, but it is not getting updated with the latest value. So there is a small mistake that we will always make, and the problem is that the file is not saved. When the file is not saved, it is going to show as a white dot like this, and which means we are not expecting the latest output, we are expecting the old output. So you can see here the first time when I have typed, it is first time the variable value is wings and it is showcasing the message as wings. And the second time it is showcasing wings viewers because we have reassigned the values for a variable. And there is also another way, like let me write a function the same way how we have written in our previous codes. And here I would call a variable called as age of user. Age is equal to 15, and I would call it as log of, and let me declare it with the let. Which should be with the double quotes. Programming world, the name of a user, and I would say with the age of, and let me concatenate with another information that's age. So here, the basic example is that we can append n number of variables or n number of concatenations we can do in the combination of constant strings, double coded strings and variables we can give. Whenever we want the variable value to be processed, we shouldn't be giving it in a double quotes. But if it's a constant string, we should be giving it inside the double quotes. And now, when I am calling this greet user function, save it, execute. And you can see that welcome to the programming world wings viewers with the age of 15. Now let me try to access this variable outside and check. We have a user with very lesser age. And here, let me print the age of a user. And you could see that it would say as age is not defined. But whereas when I'm trying to access the name of the user, it will be available. Okay. So why does this variation happen is because there are two different things that's happening. One is, there are two different things in variables. One is a global declaration and other one is a local declaration. So this variable is considered to be a local declaration, and this is considered to be a block scope. What is a block scope? Is a block in programming language always means that whenever there is an opening curly brackets and a closing curly brackets, it's considered to be a block. This is the start of a block and this is the end of a block. And within this block, only the variable can be identified. So when I type here, you can see that the variable is automatically identified as an age. But when I am typing here, we can see that the age is not identified because the variable is dead once after this curly brackets. Once the closing curly brackets is seen, the variable all will disappear and it is not accessible outside of the block. So this is called as a local declaration. What's a global declaration? And this is considered to be a global declaration or a global variable. Sorry, it's considered to be a global variable. And this is considered to be a local variable. A local variable are block scoped, and whereas the global variables are considered to be not in a block scope, it can be accessed without the outside of the blocks as well. Usually the global variables are declared always on the top of a programming for an easy understanding and also keep every declarations in a unique place. But when we want to declare some variable inside a function and we want that to be accessible outside of the function also, so in that case we can go ahead and use a var. So a var is also another way for declaring a variable. So with the help of where, the scope of a variable gets changed. This error is appearing because the variable scoping is not the same for the functions compared to the other blocks. So when we discuss about the other blocks, so we'll come to it in detail. First, let me declare this variable outside. That's called as in var, sorry, let age, and I'll give the variable value here as 18. When I'm trying to access this code, you could see we have a user with a very lesser age, it says as 18. But this, whenever we are trying to access this variant variable declared inside the function of outside, it is not allowed, because always function variable, whichever we declare as a var or let, it is always a local scoped, meaning we can't use this outside of a function. But there is also another scope that is available. So for now, let's see about how can we write a structural statements. A structural statement can be written as if age and if condition, and then open curly brackets and close curly brackets. And here I would say where is student is equal to true, or else I would say where we don't have to redeclare it again. We just have to mention as is student is equal to false. So when we give this, what happens? Here the variable has to be you can see that the is student is declared inside a block of if. So as per our let keyword, when we declare where is student is equal to true, it should die within this block element itself. But when it is, as it is declared as invariant, it should be accessible outside of this variable also. So we have a user with a lesser age, 18, and we will type it as is he a student? And let me print the is student variable. So now you can see that the is student variable is identified as part of an IntelliSense also, because it's available outside of the scope. So here we have to understand the basic differences. When a variant is declared inside a function, it is, even if it's a variant or a let, it is only to a block level scoped. But if is considered to be a block, but even if a variant is declared inside a if block or a switch block or a while block, which we are going to see it in the future sessions, all that is considered to be in global scope only. So this is called as a variable hoisting. The variable hoisting happens for the variable. Variable hoisting is nothing but these kind of an identifications are, the declarations are identified by our compiler and it is moved to the top of our page. So while compiling, our compiler will just reorganize our variable declarations in this way. So which means that it is not going to move the value, it is going to move only the declaration. So that is this declaration basically after the program is compiled, it is going to look something like this for the browser. So that is the reason your variable which is there inside the scope is also identified outside of the block. So this is called as a variable hoisting. So the variable hoisting happens for the variant, and it is moved, all the declarations of a where keyword is moved into the initial or the beginning part of the file. And that's the reason we are able to identify that variable throughout our coding anywhere. So when it is declared as a student, now let's execute this program and check. It says false, but we should be getting an answer of true. We are having our program executed, but we are not having an expected output. So we have to check why it is not getting an expected output. And you can see that it says we have a user with a lesser age of 18, but now let me try to print the value of a age before my if block, because before my if block, I want to know what is the exact value. Only if I know that, I'll be able to judge if my uh, program is executing properly or not. So let me print it as variable check, and I'll type here as age. And you can see that, let me remove all the other things of console. It is always recommended you remove an unnecessary comments. So now when we execute the same coding, you can check a variable value check undefined. So what happens to a variable is, like you can see here, I have declared my variable here, but it is not having any value. So which means that by default, we are having the undefined as a value that is stored for any variable. So when we declare a variable without a value, its value is going to be undefined. So why is it being undefined? Is because I'm assigning the value for my user inside the function only. But whereas my function call is going outside of my, after my if block. So because of which my execution initially happens with the declared value variable, that is an undefined value. It executes my code, and then it assigns the value to the age. So to avoid this, what should happen is, first the variable declaration should happen, only then my if condition should execute. So now let me check my output. So now you can see that I have declared the variable, and then only I'm printing my console.log. So now we can see that age variable check is 18. So it is not only an value that we have to assign, it also has to be assigned in an appropriate places. So now you can see that is less than 18, and it is equal to 18. So which means that, let me place it as 15. We'll discuss about the comparison operator and everything in the coming sessions. But right now, when I assign as a 15, yes, the user is below 18. So which means that, is he a student? True. It shows the true value. So this is about the variable global, the scoping of a variable, and also the variable hoisting. Now let's see what are all the different values can be stored inside a variable. Let me clear this window. And when I'm declaring a variable, so the thing is, you would have noticed I stored a string value, and then I had stored a number value. A number can be stored anything. It can be an integer value, or a Boolean value, or a negative value, or positive value, anything. And salary figure. Probably I'm receiving my take home in terms of an floating point. So I'll just give us 9.3. So which means this is considered to be a decimal. And we have seen that if a variable is declared and if the value is not assigned, this will become as an undefined will be the value for this. And whenever we are declaring a variable, I mean, let me just show it this way. When I am writing 1 divided by 0, is going to give us a value of infinity. So which means that infinity is also considered to be one of the data type. And then we have another type, that is, okay, I have a string, or I have a name, and I'm dividing it by 2, which means that my name is considered to be an string, and here I am dividing it by number. So you can see there is a nan. Nan means it's not a number. So which means that when I am dividing my string with number, it is not possible, and also we cannot get an output. So which means it's going to consider it as not a number value. And we could also store a Boolean value inside our variable. So when we have to store Boolean value, so we just give it as in true or false. So is adult true we can give. So when I am printing this, okay, it says true. And I can also check the type of the variable with the help of a type of keyword in the JavaScript. So when I want to know the type of this, I just type of and is adult. So it says the data type of the variable is Boolean. And when I have to check the data type of my name string, it is going to print a string for us. And when I print a type of salary figure, it's going to say me number. So irrespective of decimal values or a floating point value or a full number, it is considered to be a number itself. So these are all some of the primitive data types that is available, which means that a simple data type values that we can store inside a variable. And also there is a type conversion that we can do, meaning we can convert one from one type to another type. Say here, I'm just storing age as 12. And when I print the age, you can see that it is okay. When we are giving this way, it will be considered as a number, even with double quotes. But when we have to actually convert this into a string variable, so how do we do that is, we just say age is equal to string of age. And now when I am printing the type of age, you can see that now, though earlier it is printing the age value to be a number, even if it's with the double quotes, and it gets converted into a string, I mean, a string with the help of the type conversion. So a type conversion can happen not only for string, it can also happen for number. So number can be converted in this way. So if I have to convert this string back into number, so I can say age is equal to number of age. It's converted again. And when I print this line, you can say that it is the data type of my age is number. So it says number, and this is string, and this is a number. So it's not only a number or an string conversion can happen. We can also convert the values into a Boolean. So a Boolean value can be stored in few different ways. It is not only a true or false. It can also be stored with 0 and 1. It is also considered to be an Boolean value. So these are all about the variable declaration, scoping, let, where, and variable types and type conversion. So by the way, we missed one point, that is a const. So what is a const is, yes, we declared so many variables into our page. We have seen lots of declarations, and we know there is a mathematical formula whenever a circle's circumference has to be calculated. We go with the pi r formula. So pi is equal to pi value, which is never changed, and it is always going to be this one only, and it can not be changed throughout our programming. So when we have to print the value of pi, so when we don't want any value to be modified, so in that case we must give it with the value, like we can give the value with the const. So here I see value of pi, and I just call it as pi. And you can see that it is printing as value of pi is 3.14. So here, what we will do is, let me try to redeclare the variable value with and print the same value after the assigning of a value. So when I say assigning, so assignment to constant variable is not allowed. So you can see here, firstly, it says const pi is equal to 3.14, and later it says pi is equal to 4.14. But because it's declared as const, it is not allowing us to modify the value. But whereas when I declare it as a variant or a let, it will allow us to redefine the value. So the purpose of a constant is declared once and it is never modified again. Like a read-only value. And while we are declaring the value of a constant, so we can just do this way also, but it will not allow us because you always have to pay attention to the underline marks, because it says that constant must always go with the declaration. I mean, the initialization of a value. The initialization of a value is nothing but you're going to give an value to the pi variable. Only then it will allow us to use the pi variable throughout, or it'll keep on throwing an error message for us. So this is all about variables. So in the next sessions, we will discuss more about the variables and how can we make use of these variables into our programming world. And thank you for watching this video. Please practice hand in hand. And if you like my videos, please do share, subscribe, like, and comment.